80, 82, that's probably fine. I mean, you know, prop logs should be very, very, very light, especially if they're going to be repeating quite a bit. And in fact, I could even further come in here and do a bit more manipulation with the mesh to make it look right. But anyway, this is going to be fine. All right, so now we select the object, go back into export, FBX, with our presets, and we're going to call this subway underscore LOD lowercase FBX. Great, we're done in Blender. We can go into game. So you see, I'm just going to put these all in a folder so we can see them all very quickly. We're going to have 14 files that we need to import. No, not that folder. If we just take a quick look at them, yeah, all great. And then we copy these into our game asset folder. You can see I was working on one here earlier, the old Subway logo. I'm just going to delete that because I really don't care. Put it in import, and now when we go into game, it should be ready to go, and I'll be right back with that. Okay, before you take anything into the asset editor, if you're like me, you probably go on the workshop sometimes and just download a metric shit ton of mods. One thing you should probably do before the game even launches is right-click it in the you know, the sideboard there in Steam, go to Properties, and in general, go to, not Create Desktop Shortcut, Jesus, whatever, Set Launch Options, and set up this flag here. No workshop, all one word with a dash before it and an uppercase W. What happens when you load the game when this is on is it just doesn't load any of the workshop content you have, and things will move significantly faster. Some of you know about this. An advanced setup for people that would do a lot of modding. They might download mods from the workshop, keep them locally, the ones that they need specifically for making stuff. Those might be saved locally, the rest of it could be workshop stuff. Anyway, I've even heard tell of people actually buying 2 copies of the game so that they have one specifically set up for modding and the other one specifically set for playing, but it doesn't matter. So I should have my asset editor loaded up here. And we'll need to select a good template for this. I generally, for these signs, I've been using the Banhammer Bank logo. This seems to work great. And Subway FBX. Why is that like that? That's because it's not named properly. Let's go back into my import folder. Naming conventions. Finder, import. There should not be an underscore after LOD. There, that's better. I'll go back into CS, Banhammer Bank, and there it is. Notice the scale is set to 1 because it seems to think it knows where it is. Hit OK. Okay, you can see that it's kind of lit, but that's fine. It's lit at night, which is excellent. That's exactly what we want. And we want to make sure that create ruining is off because this is never going to be on the ground. Turn off color variations because we don't want people modifying the color, and that's all you need to do in here. I'm just going to call this sign Subway 2016 because I've got an older one. I'll call it Subway sign. And you guys can fuss with this, you know how to do that. Saved. New asset. Actually, you know what? I'm going to reload the editor just because this will take a second. Sorry, guys. I have a sip of beer. I see Chirper in my dreams, spinning in that eternal vortex, the loading screen. A cyclical hell. Anyway. Alright, so we're going to create a building. I'm just going to get a generic storefront so we can see things. And it loads. Probably a 4x3 would do it. Yeah, that's probably good. Default from template. Okay, now let's put our prop on there. It'll be under logos, ones that I've created. And here's the subway sign that we just did. There it is. Looks about right. Seems to be snug along the front face of the store. Lights up at night. That's great. And like I said, I mean, we've decimated this down to a point where there's not a lot of triangles there. I think, what was the final count? In our main mesh, it was, when we actually can see it, 457. That's a little high, but it's, I mean, totally fine for a prop you're only placing a couple of times. And if I check my assets, sign subway, it's only 462 kilobytes, so that's a reasonable size for a prop. Yeah, that's all there is to it. Okay, so hopefully you're able to follow along with that, and hopefully if you're able to do this, it really feels good when you actually get something into the game and say, yeah, I did that, that's great, even though it's a copyright sign. And for God's sakes, you know, even though it might say in Wikipedia that this vector logo doesn't meet the criteria for, you know, copyright, I guarantee you Subway would probably have something to say about it if you were to use that logo without applying fair use practices to it. But in this case, I made it for myself. I think it's fine. I got a Subway sign. Okay, thanks everybody. And if you like this, say so. I'll leave the comments open for now. I know what YouTube is like. And if there's some appetite, I might do more, maybe something a bit more complex. But otherwise, thank you. Oh, actually, before I even get into it, I wanted to point you guys to cslmodding.info. This is a site that was put together by modders and is maintained and kept very well up to date. It's very clean, and this contains pretty much everything the community knows so far on how to do asset creation, some scripting, and there's a bit of modding stuff in here as well. But anyway, this is the place you go if you have a question about, you know, your texture file or how your mesh should be when it's imported into the game, what you can use. Very thorough and highly recommended. So again, cslmodding.info.